Welcome to Goshen Prepping. Thanks so much for joining us. When we see disaster happen, cataclysmic stuff, it doesn't even have to be a full crap hits the fan situation, but maybe there's a natural disaster like a hurricane heading to your area. There are things that disappear off the shelves very fast, faster than others, by the way. If you don't believe me, visit like Florida, for example, just before a hurricane hits, and you'll see this right before your eyes, things just flying out of the store. So I came up with a list of 20 things. These are the first things to fly off the shelves fast. And you know what? We're a prepping channel. It's not simply telling you to prepare for this stuff, but I'm going to give you solutions and how is the best way to prepare for this. So here we go. Here's 20 things you'll want to prepare for now before a disaster hits your area, or if crap hits the fan. Number 1, fresh produce. Yep, in those situations, fruits and vegetables, produce disappear quickly. So your solution right now, buy lots of canned fruits and veggies. And the studies show, by the way, lots of independent studies show that the nutrition level of the canned stuff is just as good as the fresh. And it kind of blows your mind, doesn't it? I would recommend, though, you look at the ingredients. Because on the ingredients, if it has water and the fruit and veggies and salt, then you're good to go. And people say salt's not good for you. Salt's very good for you. You have to have the electrolytes. What you have to worry about, though, is extra things added, like sometimes corn syrup, whatever, trying to make it more flavorful. Don't buy that stuff. So just buy the regular stuff. Now, something else you could do, too, is buy a lot of the freeze-dried or dehydrated fruits. They can get expensive. So if you can find a way to dehydrate them or freeze-dry them yourself ahead of time, you'd be doing much better. Number 2, beans and lentils. Stockpile these now while you still can. And when it comes to beans and legumes and lentils and such, you're looking at 2 ways. Either dry, which store amazingly well, by the way. Buy the dry stuff. Granted, you have to put a lot of heat into it. So if crap hits the fan or you're having a disaster, no power, no gas, that might be hard for you. So you can buy the canned stuff. The canned stuff lasts, practically speaking, indefinitely as well. Either way, for years. Personally, what I do is I have a good mixture of both. But either way, get them now. Number 3, bottled water. The water flies off the shelf. So what I recommend is get one of those giant blue 55-gallon drums that are perfect for holding water. I'll put a link below if you want to pick up one from Amazon. Have something like this. Just put it in a closet, fill it up, put the bleach in, whatever you need to sanitize it or purify it, and you'll be good to go. That way you won't be dependent on the grocery store having water for you. Number 4, bread. Yes, it's another thing that just flies off the shelves. A couple options you can do. You can actually grind or mill your own grains to make your own bread, providing you have a heat source to bake during those situations. But try to find an alternative. Like tortillas, we always keep extra stock of those, and they actually last a lot longer than bread does. So keep that in mind. Number 5, cereal and granola bars. Surprisingly, these go fast too. I don't think it's the best thing in the world to have. Personally, I'd rather have oats. Oats are a much better substitute than having cereals, which are a lot of processed stuff. Oats are really good for you, high in protein and high in fiber. Number 6, cheese. What we do is from Azure Standard. I'll put a link below if you want to check them out too. I've talked about them before. It's an amazing company that sells a lot of good organic and wholesome foods. We buy these massive, giant 5-pound bricks of cheese, made from raw milk too, by the way, so it doesn't have a lot of processed stuff in there. And they last amazingly well for a long period of time. And what happens is if it starts getting moldy, which, if it's a sealed container, it never does. It's always after you start cutting it up. Just shave off the moldy stuff and toss it, and the rest of the cheese will be good to go. That's how it's been done for thousands of years. Number 7, coffee. There's only one thing worse than a natural disaster, and that's a natural disaster without your coffee. You know what I'm saying? So for those of you who have to have that wake up in the morning to be able to face the day, those really rough days, having coffee practically is essential. And coffee itself doesn't store very well because of the moisture content in it, because of, anyway, instant coffee does. May not be the most tastiest stuff, but stores a long time. You can always keep some jars because you know what they say, instant coffee is better than no coffee at all. Well, they don't say that, but they probably should. Number 8, dairy products. Same thing. Milk flies off the shelf. Want to have milk, especially if you have kiddos. So a good option to have, put away, buy ahead of time, some powdered milk. And it's a little bit more expensive, but don't get it out unless you absolutely have to. Still try to get the milk ahead of time before a disaster happens, but at least you have that powdered milk as a backup just in case. Number 9, fish and seafood. And just like many other items, they fly off the shelf fast. So we stock up in a lot of canned fish and seafood, canned salmon, canned tuna, and sardines. We love that stuff. Number 10, honey. Make sure you always have lots of local honey on stock. Make sure you get the raw stuff too, by the way, because it lasts forever. And better yet, it has incredible medicinal properties, tons of them. So make sure you have your honey. Number 11, meat. It goes fast too. But even worse, I find there's a lot of price gouging when it comes to disaster situations. They raise the price quite a bit. Even right now, meat's ridiculously high. Having fresh meat's good, but having canned meat can actually satisfy those meat needs that you have during a disaster. So stock up on whatever canned meats that you basically like. You like beef? Buy some canned beef. Some turkey, and the list goes on. Stock up the canned stuff now. That way you'll have it in case you need it. Number 12, nuts. Lots and lots of varieties to choose from. Really good for you. Good in fats and proteins. They don't last forever as far as stockpiling goes, so get what you need and make sure you rotate your stock. 13, cooking oils. And we only try to go with a good cooking oil, stuff that's really good for you. Olive, avocado, and coconut oils. If you do fry and other stuff too, make sure you stock up on some because cooking oil surprisingly go pretty quick. Number 14, pasta. We're having a pasta shortage as it is right now, and we've definitely seen it in the past. So stock up on whatever kind of elbow noodles that you like ahead of time, and they store really well. 15, pasta sauces. We like to use tomato paste in concentrated tomatoes. Just add water to it and spices, which I mentioned before. We get our spices from Shure Standard to make all the sauce we need. But when it's in a can, it'll start tasting metallic-y over time. You can always do the option of canning it yourself in jars or just buying the jars ahead of time. But we like saving money and doing it with the cans. Number 16, peanut butter. Stock up now. It won't last forever, but it does last a long time. And be sure to buy good peanut butter, not the monstrosity brand name ones, but get ones that have no sugar added or even natural or organic peanut butter. It's all the difference in the world, by the way. Get the good stuff. Number 17, rice. Really cheap, easy to store. And of course, even with shortages going on, we still have rice right now. Go to your local giant mega store and pick up a few giant bags of it and store it away. 18, salt. Get lots and lots of salt too. Makes your food really tasty and has lots of medicinal uses as well. Number 19, spices. When things get bad, having a very tasty meal makes all the difference in the world. It gives you a lot of comfort. As I mentioned before, we buy our spices from Shure Standard. I'll put a link below for that as well. But get those now, spice up your food, stockpile a lot of spices, and they go a long way in basically giving you better morale when crap hits the fan. And 20, wine and liquor. And if you didn't know, if you have a high enough proof for liquor, it can actually be done medicinally for sterilizing stuff. It's got to be 70 proof or more. Some people do 60 proof. It's better to go 70 proof at that point. But it's obviously not just for cleaning stuff, but for comfort too. There's nothing like having a little bit of drink to kind of calm your nerves a little bit down. Okay, there we go. There's 20 things. Put in the comments below what you think you should add to this list. But when natural disasters happen, stuff flies off the shelves, and it's the people who are not prepared are the ones who buy all the stuff, then blame us preppers for hoarding. No, we have our stuff ahead of time, and that's the whole purpose of this video. Stockpile these items now while you still can.